I think that the lack of accountability in some of these leadership positions is partly to blame for some of the undeserved reputation that the VA gets. Um,
Right.
Whereas the people who are actually taking care of patients are all kind, capable people whose intentions are in the right place. The views and experiences that I share here today are mine and mine alone. They're in no way a reflection of the VA or my position within the VA.
I'm very excited to have Dr. William Byrd with us today on Voice of the VA. And Doctor, why don't you start with introducing yourself to our viewers and give us a little bit of your background?
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. I am a physician currently employed at the VA hospital, and I've been practicing medicine for just over approximately 20 years. I did some of my training, most of my training here at Vanderbilt University, where I stayed on as faculty for a few years. After that, I went into private practice up in Louisville, Kentucky, a large group where I was a partner. I was later vice president of that group. We covered multiple facilities, had numerous employees, business office staff. Whenever I left that practice to come down to Nashville, I did so specifically to work at the Veterans Hospital.
Hmm.
I was excited to come and work with vets. It's been a privilege, and I was getting to come back and join many people that I had known from years past.
That's great. One of the many things that I hear when speaking to people is that passion that brings them into service at the VA. You know, we have highly skilled, highly qualified individuals who work at facilities across the country that could be working anywhere else. And people such as yourself choose to serve the veterans and give back to their country by providing the best healthcare for veterans in the country. So thank you for all of the work that you've been doing.
Well,
Um,
you,
how long have you been serving at the VA, providing care for our veterans?
well, I've been at the VA since approximately 2018, and it has been an honor and a privilege. And I would agree with you that the people that I've worked alongside are some of the best and the brightest. They're highly skilled, and they are there because they truly feel passionate and they want to be there, and they could work anywhere should they choose. So it's an honor to work along their sides.
Obviously, right now, especially in the last 9 months, we've seen a very dark turn when it comes to employment at the VA. What used to be held in high regard to to have a federal employment job, great benefits, great pay, all of that stuff, has since turned into a place where people no longer want to serve. And one of the major things that we're seeing right now, one of the major causes of this dark shift is what's happening to our union right now and the stripping away of the collective bargaining agreement and how that protects the employees who work at the VA. So, based on your experience, give me what you're seeing, like a perspective of what you're seeing at your facility from the time that you started until now. What is that transition looking like for you specifically at the VA?
Well, I would say that the people that I work alongside, they still love the VA and they love to work at the VA, but uniformly it seems that people feel as though they have no voice and that there is a culture that can be punitive
Hmm.
and that there's really no way for them to speak out against that culture.
And the stripping away of our agreement prevents them from being able to have that voice. The union is the voice that gives people the power to speak up and to make positive change in the workplace. And we advocate for that. And by removing our master agreement, that removes us from the equation. And now employees feel like they don't have a voice, like you stated.
And I have had personal experience in within the last year, less than a year. I've sought the union's assistance
Mhm.
in a dispute with a departmental chief. I have had a sterling history, no prior issues, no complaints, no concerns, and I was concerned with how a chief was treating one of my colleagues. And I voiced those concerns, at which time that chief uh, threatened me with discipline. Um, and then I brought more attention to that threat, after which I was, in fact, disciplined. So I've tried to navigate the VA system. The union was assisting me in my efforts. However, the union is no longer available within the VA to help me with this. I've personally tried to navigate all of these internal agencies, the OSC, the OAWP, the EEO, MSPB.
Mhm.
There's many internal agencies, and it can be next to impossible. I have a long history of you knowing how to navigate. Board certification, licensure, medical licensure, all of these
Right.
things. But I've never seen anything that is as confusing as these VA systems are.
Yeah, and it's almost like they set them up to be that way intentionally.
Well, I read a statistic online recently that said that the OSC only actually ends up actively investigating 5 to 10% of the
Wow.
complaints that are lodged. So, does that suggest that 19 out of 20 people are just making something up?
Mm.
I think that that's an alarming statistic if that's in fact true.
Well, honestly, I think that's the stance of most management level positions as well,
Mhm.
is that they're so quick to, especially now that the CBA has been stripped away, they're
Mhm.
so quick to downplay employees' concerns. If employees
Yes.
come to management now, instead of being able to go to the union and the union bring those to the attention of the management and force them into labor management relations and
Mhm.
figure out a solution, mediate that solution. Now the employee has to do all of the work, such as yourself. They have to do all of the work themselves. And I've seen it time and time again, just in the last few weeks, that management immediately puts out a statement or just tries to squash the story or downplay it. And these are people who are doing the work. These are everyday veterans affairs employees who are in their position, working, dedicated to these veterans and providing the care that they so desperately need and they deserve. And they're just so quick to downplay as if as if they mean nothing.
It does seem that management and leadership seek to insulate themselves from
Hmm.
any of these concerns and
Hmm.
place the entire burden upon the employee. And the system seems to do the same thing.
And we need that ability to hold them accountable.
Absolutely. I believe everybody should answer for the care that they deliver and the decisions that they make. I think that the lack of accountability in some of these leadership positions is partly to blame for some of the undeserved reputation that the VA gets.
Right.
Whereas the people who are actually taking care of patients are all kind, capable people whose intentions are in the right place.
With that being said, I want to get your take on this. Someone with such an extensive record of just, stellar performance and dedication in the medical field. Someone who, to my knowledge, has not been in any sort of leadership within the union, correct? You're not like a
Yes,
union
sir.
representative or a
Correct.
president or anything like that. You are a doctor in your role, committed to providing care. I want to get your take. What needs to happen to fix what's going on in the VA?
Well, I think that a system needs to be in place that holds leadership accountable, much like the employees and the caregivers are all accountable. And the union has done a good job of filling that role. But without the union, I'm not certain how anybody can stand up against the resources that the VA system has at their disposal.
Yeah, I could not agree more with you, sir. I think that what's happening, what we're seeing right now, is a deliberate attempt to remove that check and balance
Yes, sir.
and further, as you stated, insulate
Mhm.
and protect the management.
I would agree.
And I mean, the writing is on the wall. I think it's very evident that that's what's happening. And it by removing the union, by removing the employee's voice, it makes it so much easier for them to come in, make these decisions, squash stories, and control the rank and file.
And I've spent almost the last half of a year trying to navigate all of those systems to voice my concerns and complaints. And I just keep winding up at dead ends, one after
Mm.
another.
And so let me ask you this. Going through everything that you're going through right now, and we'll get into a little bit of the details as much as we can get into
Mhm.
without sharing any sort of sensitive information. Um, how does this impact you, your mental health, and your ability to do your job? When you're at work and you're thinking about all of these things that are happening to you, how does that affect you?
Well, I think it's safe to say that it is a distraction, and any distraction such as that is going to take away, to some extent, going to take away your focus from the reason that each of us should be there, and that should be patient care. And anybody else that is going through a similar situation, I have to think that they too would feel as though it were taking away from their focus on their patients.
And that's my fear. That's my concern. We should be setting up the VA employees to do the best job that they can and eliminate as many of these distractions. I'm not saying that the VA is a perfect place. I'm not saying that it should be a perfect place. No place is perfect to work at. They're always going to have issues, but we should not have to worry about these things. I mean, someone such as yourself, 7 years at the VA, 20 plus years in medical, perfect track record, perfect history. And now all of a sudden, you're seeing some of the things that are happening to you and the attacks that are happening, that are coming at you. So, why don't you share a little bit about what you're going through specifically and
Mhm.
some of these attacks on your character and your record?
So I have been at the VA since 2018. I've always gotten along very well with all of my colleagues. I have witnessed what I could only call as some injustices along the way,
Mhm.
but I've always thought that as long as I worked hard, did my job to the best of my ability, and stayed in my lane, so to speak, that I would not end up being involved in any of these issues.
Sure.
And there was a particular day where I was in a position overseeing the operating rooms, and our departmental chief was actually doing clinical duties on that day and was in the operating room. So it appeared that the ORs may go later than scheduled, which can happen on any given night. And
Hmm.
all of us have experienced it. All of us have had to stay later than we'd hoped at one point or another. So I went to the chief's operating room to explain to her the situation and ask if she might have any suggestions, because otherwise she was going to have to potentially stay late. It was at that point that she became very visibly upset and called in one of my colleagues who was dealing with a personal crisis and out of work that day on approved leave for said crisis. Um, this person was told to come in and relieve the chief by the chief because she said that she refused to stay over on this day. Um, After seeing this, I was obviously very concerned as to whether or not it was even legal. It was very upsetting, but it was sadly it was not entirely surprising um, out of this individual. Several days later, an email was sent by the chief to myself and to this lady, this victim, suggesting that it was uh, one of our faults. It was either hers or my fault, and that this would be discussed in an upcoming performance review, um, which was a bit of a surprise, too.
Hmm.
A couple of days after that, lo and behold, I found out that I was due for a performance review right then and there. So I went to the office of the chief, where we sat down, just she and I. And very soon into this review, this incident was brought up. And at that point in time, um, she suggested that I should take responsibility for it. And I, in fact, suggested that this was a result of her decision and she should take responsibility for it.
Hmm.
And from that point, she began to threaten me and said that she was going to put me on professional review. So it was apparent to me that she was retaliating against me and
Hmm.
for not um, taking ownership of her bad decisions and her bad behavior. So I objected, and I told her that I wanted a third party present at any
Hmm.
point beyond that if I were to meet with her. And we ended the meeting at that point. Um, if you fast forward from there, I did voice my concerns to her superior, who was very dismissive when we met. Um, in fact, he even said that that according to her, it was just a misunderstanding. Um, and I had witnesses to that meeting. Everything is very thoroughly documented. Um, so I then pursued the internal systems such as the OSC, the OAWP, the Harassment Prevention Program, the EEO. I had no guidance from anybody on which one of these was appropriate. As I would submit my concerns to each one, I was getting no feedback. Um, I did seek the union's assistance, and at a later point, the chief did, in fact, discipline me as she had threatened. At which point, the union was helping me to contest those and go through the system. Um, However, after a couple of attempts, the union ended up leaving amidst this dispute. So it has remained unresolved. And I have continued to try to navigate all of these agencies on my own, but had really little to no success. Um, and I'm certainly not getting any sort of feedback from any of the agencies. Uh, I'm under the impression that there's no investigation, perhaps that there's never been any kind of investigation into my
Mm-hmm.
concerns and allegations. You know, there have been little things such as vacation requests, where I place a request and then I find out that I'm mysteriously on call on that date that I requested to be off, and that's happened a couple
Mm.
of times. And just, little things to make to affect, your,
Right.
not just your
Clear
work, your
retaliation.
life outside of work. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I ever said that, that there have been other things in addition to the story that I described that have
Mm-hmm.
also, caused work to be much more um, stressful than
Mm-hmm. Right.
than it should or would otherwise be. Um,
Recently or
it's kind of been ongoing, since that incident. I've certainly just had to stay uh, very aware
mm,
of every move that I make, just because of the culture that is um, widely understood, within our
mm-hmm.
within our department. So.
And this is just one of the many cases that we're seeing across the country that, you know, the union was bridging the gap and standing in the way for employees, like in a positive way. That's what the union does. Is we fight for our motto is dignity, fairness, and respect in the workplace. And that's all our mission has ever been. And recently it's become a political uh, conversation that the union is against this administration and against this secretary, when in reality, all we want is what's best for the veterans and to protect the VA employees. We are willing and ready to stand by and work alongside of Secretary Collins. But in turn, he decided to strip away the collective bargaining rights, which prevented your union from being able to find a resolution to this for you. And so this is what's happened when our master agreement was stripped away. It left you and countless others to fend for themselves.
In some ways, I would say, well, a soldier stands up for the rights of people who oftentimes can't defend themselves. And in a similar fashion, the union can step in and be the voice of people who feel that they have no voice. Um, so I have the utmost respect and appreciation for anybody who is called to do such.
Being a voice for the voiceless.
Correct.
And see, here's the thing is that we are still here. Your union is still here. We are still operating. We are still representing. The fact is that the VA is choosing to ignore it,
Yeah.
unlawfully so. They are choosing just to ignore the agreement that we have in place between the VA and the National VA Council and AFGE. They're just choosing to ignore it. So I would continue to seek help with your local, with your union. And while everyone is back at their duty stations and during duty time, they will not be able to help. After, please get with them. Please email me. We will continue to help you and continue to fight for you as best as we can, given these circumstances. until things are made whole, until things are made right, things are made fair for you and for everyone else.
Well, thank you. It's unfortunate if the system turns its back on the union, because the union is there to represent the people who are looking out for our veterans and our patients. So in a way, that is the system turning its back on the very patients and veterans that we're there to serve. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could not agree more. Thank you so much for joining
pleasure.
me today and for sharing your story and for making your voice heard. That's what we're here for, is to be your voice. So we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for providing a platform and for being an a amplifying, the voice and concerns, and that in turn is a wonderful thing for the vets.